Okay, we are recording. We're going to get started because it's 4:30 and we start games on time. So we're going to start our training on time. We do have a chat screen. If you want to chat with us, feel free to hit the chat button and you can chat. I'll be managing that the best I can. If I don't get to you, just be patient or wave your hands in the computer screen if you want to, and we'll get you caught up. I'm Tony Harrison, if you know who I am, and right over to my left is Chad. Now in the picture, he's off to my bottom left, but in real life, he's to my direct left. And he's going to be running the training today. I'm just going to help on the IT side of the house. So Chad, I'm going to unmute you, and you're good to go. Can you hear me?
You just muted me again.
Oh. Unmute yourself. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, I can. Can you hear Chad? You got me going?
You're on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm shooting on an iPad, so if you're going to send a chat, send it to Tony. He's got the laptop up to see that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 live in front of me in Rapid. And what do we have, Tony? About 16, 18?
We got 24. Minus you and I, 22.
We'll take that. Pretty free-flowing. Apologize for some of our video technical difficulties. This is the first time doing this, so it gives us a chance to work out the kinks. Those of you that can, just by show of hands or a message to Tony, who on the call is not a referee? I know we invited some coaches and athletic directors.
One, looks like Katie Dawson, Phil B, R. Buyer, Matt DeBoer. Nice.
Welcome. So we'll go through just a couple deals. Aaron Granger's chat, I can see some of them that pop on the iPad. Says, I'm a coach, he says. So again, thanks to the coaches and everybody joining in. A couple of things that Tom sent out for the officials. One of them is the pregame procedures with national anthem. Obviously with some of the tension and demonstrations in the country and in professional sports, they wanted to just kind of get it out in front of us so we can address it. They're encouraging everyone to stand and pay their respects during the national anthem, but the First Amendment does protect their right to a peaceful protest. So the SDH-SAA cannot stop competitors, coaches from having to stand. It's obviously an individual choice. So they're asking the schools to address it at the local level. From the official standpoint, my advice to you is going to be, do you be professional? Don't pay attention to it. I mean, that's not there to impact how we officiate the match.
And I want to agree on that, Chad. If you're going to pick a battle to die on a hill, let's not pick this hill. I know we all have parents that were involved in the military, and my dad was as well, but don't let this be the hill you die on for soccer, okay? Let's be professional and let the things happen that happen. And if you don't like it, we'll talk about it after the show's over, but let's not make a spectacle. It's like it or not, it is a protected event.
A couple of other things, pre and post game. And one of them is in one of the slides in here, but the coin toss should just be a coach and one captain. Make sure we're maintaining the 6 feet. Post game handshakes, non-existent. When you're done, get out of there. Move out of the area. The pre-game introductions, also the advice we've been given on that is it's not a World Cup style walkout. If they choose to introduce their players, they're supposed to do it from just in front of the bench. So clearly we're trying to minimize contact. Again, the words of advice to the officials is we're there to officiate. Check with the home coach or the activities director, whoever your on-site coordinator is, and let's just move through it. Again, we're there to officiate. We're there to work hard. The rest of it, let's just stay out of it. Okay. With that being said, Tony, if you want to kick us to the PowerPoint here, we'll cover some of the rule changes. We'll talk through
the tests on the exam,
some of the tests on the exam, and then a pretty words are hard today. Pretty free flowing.
Okay, you're up.
So that's us. We'll pop through them here. Here's some of the rule changes. We're operating two screens here because we've got a few folks in-house in Rapid. So one of the new updates is the ball specifications. If it becomes deflated during play, it's dead. We resume with the drop ball. If that drop ball happens to take place in the penalty area, one of the changes, it'll go to just the goalkeeper now. If it deflates during the taking of a penalty kick, we retake the kick. Any other time it deflates, it's going to be a drop ball. And you can find those revisions in 9-2.
Stand by.
Remember, it introduced him as the lowly assistant.
There you go. All
right. Section 1 required equipment. The visiting team, so a small change up here, shall wear solid white jerseys, solid white socks, and the home team should wear dark jerseys and dark socks. And for the intents and purposes, dark is defined as any color which contrasts with white. A couple years back, we ran into the Sioux Falls Lincoln when they were away, where they're light baby blue. But now the visitors wear white. You'll also notice it was struck out that it says the jerseys have to be tucked in. A lot of them are manufactured differently now. So a tuck-in is not a requirement. Again, let's not pick that battle. No reason to. Tooth and mouth protector. They used to have to be white or clear. Now they can be any color. So they're no longer recommending it meets that criteria. Ultimately, it's all about safety. They made some change to ball in and out of play, and this kind of addresses when the ball touches a referee. There was some changes at the FIFA level. NFHS is coming a little more in line with that. So the ball is out of play when it completely crosses the goal line or touch line, when it touches an official and remains on the field, and the team starts to promise an attack going directly to goal or the possession changes. Those three are after it touches an official. And then it's deemed out of play.
Yeah, hey,
Chad.
The way that,
yes.
So I'm taking that right. So if, even especially as an AR, if I end up being on the field and it hits me and as it's wanting to go out of bounds, it's out of bounds. Is that correct?
That rule has not changed.
Correct. If you are on the field of play as an AR, which we shouldn't be during active play.
But even a ref was standing there and it hit the ref and it was going to go out, it's out of play. That's what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, there's a law specific to the assistant referee. That's different than the center referee, obviously. The referee is more involved in the actual play, whereas the assistants are off to the side. So if a ball would be out of bounds, laws that direct the assistant referee. This is just for the referee only, not the assistant.
Okay.
But
and this ruling clarifies the ball stays on the field, touches an official and remains on the field, and A starts a promising attack, B goes into goal, or possession changes.
Yes. Ball is out of play if it touches an official, and it should have went out. That's what you're saying.
This is a clarification if the ball hits the official and stays on the field.
Yes.
So if the AR is on the field and it hits you and stays on the field, now did a team start a promising attack? Did it go directly into goal, or did the possession change? If one of those three meet, then they're saying it's out of play.
Okay.
If you're in the middle of the field or in your quadrant officiating and the ball hits you and stays on the field and a team starts an attack, they're saying, stop, we're out of play.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But they're talking out of play. That's what I'm just saying. You know, if it was on its way out of bounds and it hits you before it goes out of bounds, that's what I thought I was understanding for this rule.
Okay. We talked our way through it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Next.
This does not say that it hits the official on an attack and the team maintains the attack, they didn't do anything.
So for those of you that aren't in the room, I don't know if Larry's question came through. His question was, if you're on the field and the ball hits you, if the team is attacking, the ball hits you, and the ball continues for that team to attack, we're not out of play. We're not play on because there's no foul.
Right.
We're playing. We're going to continue to play.
Okay. Everybody good on that?
But yeah, I just want to say to Tony's point, which I think kind of got talked over, this is about the center referee, not an assistant referee.
Correct.
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 And would you say as long as they don't get an advantage by that? I mean, as a defending team, now it deflects off of me, and and now it went a different direction, and that attacking team is getting an advantage by that, even though they keep possession. You understand what I'm saying? I've had that happen a couple times already this summer, where it has hit me, and you have to decide whether that attacking team now they're getting an advantage by hitting me and going back even to their own player.
Right. So if it starts a promising attack, it's not a play.
Yeah. Okay. And it took a while for people to realize that, but
Also resolved by don't be on the field if you're an assistant referee. Okay, next one.
Next one is some drop ball changes. So the game is restarted with a drop ball when the ball is caused to go out of bounds by two opponents simultaneously. And I'm going to just challenge you to think about that for a minute. Did it really go off two people simultaneously? Probably there's a click, right? Use your best judgment. We've always said in class, all else fails, give it to the defending team. So we're coming out instead of giving a quick attack coming in. But the law does now allow you, or the rules, we're high school here, the rules are now allowing you that if it goes out of bounds by two people simultaneously, you may start with a drop ball. Again, we talked about this when the ball becomes deflated, it's a drop ball. Following a temporary suspension of play for an injury or an unusual situation, a drop ball. Again, when simultaneous fouls of the same degree occur by opponents, I'll challenge you again, did they really happen at the same time, both fouls? Or when the ball touches an official, which is what we just talked about. And again, this is just simply these changes were made to help teams from gaining an advantage. That's why they're going with the drop ball. Questions on those so far? All right. How taken, this is for in section 13 here on free kicks. So the players opposing the kicker, so technically the defending team, shall be at least 10 yards from the ball until it's kicked, unless they're standing on their own goal line between the goalposts. They can't go back any further, right? So it might only be 8 yards. If the free kick is awarded to the defending team in its penalty area, players opposing the kicker shall be outside the penalty area at least 10 yards from the ball and shall remain there until the ball is in play. And then another reminder, where 3 or more defending team players form a wall, all attacking team players must remain at least 1 yard from the wall until it's in play. So in the past, you'd have that wall of 3 or 4 defenders, and that attacker would get nestled in there and kind of create some havoc and try to cause some problems. This is simply kind of following FIFA's rule here that attacker or 2 or whatever have to be at least a yard away, just to kind of prevent that. Can be a yard in front, can be a yard in backside, but they've got to have that yard. Kind of helps us manage some of those confrontational situations that occur. We already had that one. On the kick, free taking of the kick here, the ball shall be kicked while it's stationary and on the ground at the spot specified by the official. To be in play, the ball shall be moved in any direction. So once it's kicked and moved, it's in play. But the ball has to be stationary on the ground in a spot you specify. Again, that allows them to get it put back in play quicker. Those of you that have done this a while, keep in mind kind of the rule of thirds, right? Your defensive third, your midfield third, and your attacking third. And break that down to in that defending third, that area of grass, right? Midfield, kind of that section of grass or those couple yards, and then that attacking third, it's that blade of grass, right? So we don't need to be as picky when it's coming out of the defensive end, but You pick the spot, make sure it's stationary.
Chad, this is Matt. I have one question on that 3 or more in a line.
Yes.
1 yard away. Can the attacking team be 1 yard in front of them?
Well, I'm going to have you answer your question with a question. What do you think? Okay, so for those that in the room here,
Yes, I think he probably could.
on the wall, where the defenders are in the wall with 3 or more, can the attackers be in front of the wall, so closer to the kicker, correct, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll let you answer your question with a question. Or I answered your question with a question. If it's the attacking team, is the attacking team required to be 10 yards away?
No.
No. So if they wanted to line up 7 away, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. They're teammates, right? The
Right.
opposing team is who has to be the 10 away.
Okay, but would that be any way like infringing or anything? Because you're kind of blocking their view, or if they move before the ball is kicked, or
So you're talking about his question was, can those people lined up in front of the wall move or kind of cause a distraction? They're the teammates of the attacking team, right?
right?
No requirement that they have to be stationary, correct?
No.
They just must be 1 yard away from that wall.
Okay.
Picture painted. Are we on the same page?
Yep. Got it.
Eddie wants to know if the AR can be in the wall. And I will answer Ed with, if Ed chooses to stand in the wall and someone can get a video of Ed getting pegged in the head with the ball while in the wall, I will pay your registration for next year. Matt, we're good on that one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm going to mute you, Chad, while I'm talking. I think it's important to remember the reason that is so we're not getting these guys having the or gals having the knockdown, drag out, pushing, shoving matches. That's the intent of this new law change. So that's why they put this in there, is to avoid those elbows to the nose and stuff like that while the ball's in flight, while people are scrumming to get an opening. So just keep that in mind. That's the reason for it.
All right, for another one on the taking of indirect kicks here. The referee shall signal an indirect, and we all know that's the arm above the head. Need to maintain it, and this is very clearly put out this year that it must be maintained until the kick is taken and the ball either touches another player or goes out of play. If the referee fails to signal the kick is indirect and it goes directly into the goal, the kick is retaken, right? So you're letting the crowd, the parents, the coaches, the players, none of them who know the laws and rules, right? Because we always get asked, is it direct or indirect? Well, if you got your arm up, it's clearly indirect, okay? You must keep it up there until it touches someone else or goes out of play. Again, if it goes in the goal, we retake it. That's just to clear all that up. And if we make a mistake and fail to give that proper signal, we got to come back and do it again. So it's very important we're on indirects, get that up. Penalty kick. We all know the goalkeeper has the ability to move around, right? Side to side, up and down on the goal line. Now they've modified this as well to follow FIFA's directive a little bit. So they must maintain 1 foot on or in line with the goal line, between the goal posts. Can't be touching the post, crossbar, or net, okay? But they've got to be at least 1 foot on the line until it's kicked. They can move forward, but still must keep 1 foot on the line, okay? Until the ball's in play. It is a yellow card for the goalkeeper if you choose to call it and caution it. Okay? So now it's, I think in our minds, we've probably given that 1 foot, 1 step anyway, and now it's saying we can allow that. They still need to maintain 1 on the line. Goal kick, NFHS has cleaned this up now too to kind of join in with FIFA and the rest of the world. So on goal kicks, the opponents still have to remain outside the penalty area until the ball is in play. Doesn't have to clear the penalty area anymore, so teams can now take that short goal kick They have their teammates inside the penalty area, but the opponents have to stay outside, no different, until the ball's in play. Once it's in play, they can come on in. Goal kick, once spotted, the ball shall be kicked from the ground from any point within the goal area by a player of the defending team. The ball is in play when it is kicked and moved. So they clarified when it's in play. And high school says, once it's spotted, they can't start on the left side, move to the right, psych, fake out, and coming back to the left. So once they put it down, they need to play from there. Just a refresher and a reminder for us folks. Another one on goal kick. After the goal kick is properly taken, again, kicked and moved. And we just shot forward a little bit there on the slide, Tony. But once it's kicked and moved, it can be played by any player except the one who executes the goal kick. So no double touching. Once it's kicked and moved, we're in play. Can't be touched by another player. Do we have questions on any of that? Tony's just checking the chat here in case we have any.
I have a question. You mentioned on cautioning the goalkeeper for leaving. I've not seen that setting. But that is a rule, and that's not the same as like the offensive and defensive players coming in too soon.
Go ahead, Tony. You're gonna say something.
I mean, if that's what it is, I did not see that.
I'm going to look through and clarify, but it should be section 12 in our NFHS book.
Yeah, I'm looking under misconducts, but
It's delay of restart.
Yeah, it's an actual law specific to that event.
Yep.
Well, Donnie G jumped in for those in the room here and said that yes, it's delaying the restart specific to the penalty kick.
okay.
And I'm going to trust you. I'm not going to look in there while we're here, but
It's in Rule 12. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Donnie's for the room here clarifying it's in Rule 12.
Chad, with that, would you recommend giving a card on the first offense, or would you rather see to be addressed first, or what's your?
So Matt's question for those in the room here is, would he caution on the first offense? Would he address it? How would he handle it? And my recommendation is going to be pick your battle and push your common sense button. Does it need the yellow card? Does the game need the yellow card? Is this a high school kid who has no idea that they must maintain 1 foot on the line? What did you talk about before the game? Did you give the goalkeeper any direction before taking the penalty kick and say, hey, you must make sure you keep at least 1 foot on the line? I always give the goalkeeper on a penalty kick just a quick, hey, goalkeeper, make sure you stay on the line until the ball's kicked. So I set the table right there. But my answer to you, Matt, and the group would be use your common sense.
Is it different? And that's this high school game being. I mean, if I give that goalkeeper a yellow, he's got to sit out. He's done now, and now we got to have this whole ordeal. It's not like a youth game or an adult, whatever. It's a little bit more of a. That's my thinking. It's pretty serious.
No, absolutely. And you took the words out of my mouth, Tim. That was what I was going to wrap that point up with is remember, and for those in the room, Tim said, hey, I don't want to give that goalkeeper a yellow card because in high school ball, they must sub out. Right. So let's remember that as we change and switch our hats between college and high school and USSF. Yes, I agree completely. I have to send this goalkeeper out. Did he do something that egregious that, he came up with his foot off the line? If it's the third penalty kick of the game and he's still doing it, now I have a problem because I've talked to him. So, Matt, as we went all around that circle, does that get you where you need to get?
Yeah.
I think that was the last of the rule review slides, wasn't it, Tony? So before I move into just the test questions, any messages, any other questions from the group before we start the test review? Test review. 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 Test revie Mike Curvin, you raised a hand. Did you have a question? Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. If you do, Mike, throw a hand up in the air, wave it like you just don't care. Oh, sorry, DJ in a former life. Or send Tony a chat here. But unless the group tells me differently, my plan is going to be we pulled out some of the questions off the test and did them in a PowerPoint format, but I literally have them all, and I will go through them all. Mike Watson is sending a question. I can't read it on mine.
What do you do if the ball is placed on a goal kick and they move it?
Question for those in rapid maneuver.
I'm gonna mute you now.
Someone commented and said illegal touch. It's both Watson, so Evan and Mike both are there. Anybody else want to chime in with an answer? Eddie says, tell him to move it back. Yeah, I mean, you've got some unsporting behavior. Again, my recommendation is let's use our common sense button. Do they know they can't do that? You know, they watch a Champions League or an MLS game or something else and it's allowed. Do they know? Probably not. Probably not even the coaches. So use your common sense button. Hey, whoa, 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 right? You got a whistle in your hand. Beep, beep. Hey, no, it's over here where you put it down. That's where you got to go in high school ball. You set it down there. Here's where you're kicking from. Coach them while you're talking your way through the situation. Does that work for you, Mike Watson? I'm going with a yes. So we'll work our way through some of these slides. And then I've got the entire test here as well. And as time allows, we can certainly continue to go through all of those. We tried to pull out some of the ones we thought were a little more challenging. And when we put the presentation together, we hadn't seen the test yet. And then we ran out of time to just change them all in and out. So here we go. And Tony, you've got the group in front of you. So as we go, if you want to even just pick someone out to answer it here, everybody can see it. So we'll pick someone out, but I'll read the question. During the penalty kick, a player is found bleeding and is required to leave the field. You have some choices. Tony, who are you picking?
Let's go with Joe Sabrowski.
And you advanced our slides, by the way,
Sorry.
a couple times. Keep going back. One more. And again. There. Oh. Boom.
All right. I gave you big help, Joe. I showed you the answer. Joe, any guess?
I didn't quite catch it. Just read through this quick. I was flipping through my test because I have it printed here.
This one's not on the test, by the way.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I'm leaning towards substitutes that allowed to take the penalty kick. Don't we send the bleeding player off?
Bleeding player must leave. Joe's answer was A, but the bleeding player must leave. The substitute cannot take the penalty kick.
Okay. Good.
And the best answer I have to that is they must not want you to send in your ringer.
Fresh legs.
Yeah. Yep, fresh legs.
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
There you go.
Nope. Now, during the penalty kick, A7 uses several stutter steps but does not interrupt the approach to the ball. This one is on the test.
So I pick one.
Pick one.
I see Guy McNeely sitting there. Guy, you got an answer for this one?
Allow the goal and the restart as a kickoff.
Guy's answer was allow the goal and a restart with a kickoff by the defending team. That is correct. So those of you gentlemen, if you have your test here, you can write it down if you need to, right? Okay, next one. This one is also on the test. During an inspection of the game balls supplied by the home team, the referees note that the balls do not have the NFHS authenticating mark. What do you do? And you have some choices.
We should find a administrator here because they
Yes,
so,
let's find an administrator, or if one chooses to
administrator.
volunteer.
Who's one of our administrators? Any one of the administrators, jump in and let's get the official answer from you all. All right, no administrators are jumping in. All right.
One of our fellows in the room here chimed in and said, B, this is not permitted if neither team has 3 similar quality game balls. The game may begin with balls chosen by the referee from those available. That is the correct answer, right? We're still ultimately want to play the game. So if they don't have 3 NFHS ones, you decide, make sure they're good, make sure they're safe, make sure they're proper. And I saw Mike Watson just had a chat question pop up asking if the balls were going to be sanitized. That is a great question. If there's an administrator on this call that might know that, please chime in. If not, I already made that note while I was driving down here today because I know that the adult league in Sioux Falls was doing that. That's a great question.
I don't have any administrators jumping on. Jeff Fiero has a question. What if it happens during the playoffs where the ball is specified by state? You're talking, Jeff, I'm assuming the no logoed ball, right? If we don't have logoed balls for a state tournament, the laws of the game say we're not going to hang our hat on the logo. If there's logoed balls, we are to use them. If they're not there, we're supposed to select 3 balls from the other team. But I trust all these coaches and administrators will have logoed balls there, so we don't have to worry about that. Is that a good answer, Jeff, hopefully?
And I think if the state provides it.
During the playoffs, the ball is supposed to be the Baden Thermo something.
Oh, and you're talking the brand of ball, not the NFHS logo.
Correct.
Okay. You know, that's a question I have to go to probably Krogstrand and ask his opinion of it. I don't know the answer to that. That's I know in terms of laws of the game, that's not one of the laws that we're required to enforce. We just need to make sure they're NFHS balls. We don't care if it's Baden or not. So
Gotcha.
We'll jot that question down. Does that sound good? And we'll get an answer for you.
Yep. Thanks.
You bet. Oops. Okay. Are we good here? Okay, there you go.
The home team and the visiting team are both wearing blue shorts. By the way, this one is a test question if you haven't done your test yet. So they're both wearing blue shorts. Are you going to pick someone online there?
Oh, geez. Phil B, I assume that's Phil Burr. What do you think, Phil Burr?
Actually, Phil Bushing.
Okay, Phil Bushing, sorry.
I'm going to say this is permitted.
I would agree with you.
Phil Bushing's answer was this is permitted, which is correct. Again, it specifies the jersey color, right? The visiting team must now wear white jersey and white socks. But both teams can wear blue shorts. So in our backyard here, St. Thomas More and Stevens are playing. If STM is wearing white, blue, white, Stevens could wear blue, blue, blue. So the shorts, they can both wear the same color. Go ahead. This one's a test question also. B14 takes a shot on goal with goalkeeper A1 out of position. A3, however, extends her arm into the path of the ball, deflecting it to B9. B9 shoots the ball and enters the goal. What do we have? Tony, you should mute yours. Are you muted?
Am I muted? No, I should be muted.
Anybody taking a shot on that answer? Mike says C, which is the referee should allow the goal and caution A3 for unsporting conduct. I'm looking at the wrong answer here. My bad. Referee should allow the goal and caution A3 for unsporting conduct. I said goalkeeper. That is correct, right? So the ball is going to goal. The goalkeeper is out of position. The defender throws an arm out, deflects it, and then the other player shoots and then enters the goal. So we're going to count the goal, and we're still cautioning that player for unsporting conduct. Questions on that one? It's pretty simple. This one's a test question. Team B's head coach receives, Nick says, do you signal playing advantage? If you have time, yes, right? Because we gave the advantage. And anytime we give an advantage, we're saying we saw a foul and you still have the advantage to go to goal. So we saw a foul, we saw the handling. We can signal that advantage. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we're going to come back with that yellow card, remember, we have to do it before the next restart.
And it's always a good idea, Nick, to get in the habit of giving the advantage because sometimes other players, coaches, fans don't see it. They're not sure what happened. We may say something on the field, and maybe the players in our circle hear it, but the coaches a lot of times, especially if you see a handling, you can imagine the attacking coach is going to be immediately looking forward to you, looking for something. And when he sees that hand come up, that'll give him probably or her some relief that, okay, they saw it, they're allowing play to continue, and there's a shot on goal which scored. So it's always a good habit to be to show the signal and say it loudly. Helps too.
All right, Team B's head coach receives a second caution and disqualified. My lowly assistant here already gave us all the answer, which is C. Yeah, it popped in there. Display the yellow card indicating the subsequent caution immediately followed by a red card. That's a change from a couple years back where you would show the yellow and the red at the same time. So show the yellow, then show the red. And I just saw Dave Dantzler popped a question, Tony.
Dave says, back to question 5, why is a defending player who deliberately uses their arm not dismissed? This is part of that double punishment thing. We allow the advantage and the goal scores. They will not be dismissed because they've already given up the goal. If the goal is not scored and they lose the advantage, then we can go with the option of giving them the straight red for denying an obstacle opportunity. And I believe there's a question coming from that later, is there not?
It didn't make the 50-question test, but that would be exactly why. Yes, that coach, that whole kind of double jeopardy thing. They're getting punished by getting scored on. We're not sending the player off as well because they didn't deny the goal.
However, they will get leaving the field because they'll get a yellow, so they'll have to leave the field as part of that punishment for a yellow card in high school soccer.
Coach, does that close the circle for you?
Yep, sounds good.
Perfect.
Somebody should say.
Which of the following is not a duty of the referee? This one is one of the test questions. Mike is chiming in with C, determine the winner of the game. Correct, right? We're just there to officiate. We're not worried about who wins or loses. So that's not a duty for us, but the other ones are. Certainly we want to work with the timer, the scorer, and make decisions. And I would always encourage you, take that time when you get on site, meet with whoever your timekeeper is and your scorer is to make sure we're on the same page with when they're stopping the clock, when they're restarting the clock. Some of these timekeepers at the schools are fantastic. They've done it for a while. They understand the game and the rules. Some of them are not as fantastic. And if we don't make sure we're on the same page, we're going to have a problem.
Hey, let's touch real quick also on, after they get ahead of so many goals, the clock continues to run. And we sometimes get in the habit of stopping the clock, once they're down by the 7 goals, right? Clock runs in the varsity game. So make sure, is it 6? Maybe it's 6. So have that chat with your timekeeper too, because I will tell you last year in games, I think Chad and I did, out of habit, there'd be a score, would do a stop clock signal, and they'd stop the clock, and we'd have to be on the radio and go, oh yeah, keep it going. We screwed that one up because we're used to stopping the clock after a goal. So just one of those good pre-game conversation, which is why you should always be there plenty early to get that stuff handled.
Yep. Ball goes directly into the opponent's goal from a corner kick. The referee should. This one is a test question. No one should get this wrong. Don't overthink it. The ball goes directly into the opponent's goal from a corner kick. Correct. C, allow the goal. Right? You can score directly off a goal kick or a corner kick. And on a goal kick if you can kick it that far. But all right, next one. For substitutions in the last 5 minutes of the second period, the referee will yes, C, stop the time, allow the substitution if the leading team is making it. So if the team in the lead's making it, we stop it. If the team behind is making it, we just continue to let it run. Even if both teams are substituting, as a comment that was just made, I'm going to say yes. If the losing team chooses to substitute at that moment, we're running the clock. This one's not on the test this year. Before the game, the referee observes all Team B players are wearing pink rubber bands on their wrists. The referee should not allow them as they're considered jewelry. And I know sometimes these come up with, we want to pay a tribute to a fallen classmate or someone's mother maybe has breast cancer. If we get a memo from the state allowing it, then we're going to allow it. But otherwise, they're calling it jewelry, so we don't allow it. Go ahead. This one is not on the test this year either, but an identifiable supporter of the home team seated in the designated spectator area screaming profanities at the nearest AR in disagreement with a decision about offside made. The referee should stop play and request that the home school administrator deal with it, right? I mean, that we don't need that, especially in the high school game for sure. That's not for us to deal with. Get the administrator involved. Remember, in your pregame meeting, you should be finding out who that is, who's your point of contact in case there's a problem. I can speak for all of the 80s I've encountered West River. They will take care of it. I've heard good feedback from the East River officials as well. So let's just, again, we don't need to get involved in that, but we need to deal with it. This one is on the test. A14 is running to the goal. Her teammate, A12, kicks the ball towards her. A14 did not see the ball coming, and the ball strikes her in the back of her hand as her hand is at her side. The proper call would be 2. D was thrown out in the room here. D is correct. We're going to allow play to continue. Right? We penalize for a deliberate handling. This player had no idea, right? My visual as I'm reading this question is she's running towards goal. The player's behind her and tries to play a through ball or maybe even a bad shot and it hits her hand while it's against her side. That's a natural position, right? We can't fault her for being natural. So we're going to allow play to continue here.
Hey, one thing to note is the word is deliberate here. It's not intent, right? The word intent is not in our laws. So when people talk about, I didn't intend to do that or I didn't mean to do that, that's not the word we use. It's deliberate. And so does her hand go towards the ball to make herself bigger, or is in a natural position where she's jumping in the air trying to make herself bigger? That's not natural. That is more deliberate, which is why this would not be a penalty.
B17, this one is a test question. B17 is being replaced on a legal substitution opportunity for her team. What should happen next? Someone's throwing out B. That is correct. B17, your player that's on the field is considered to still be a player until the replacement is beckoned onto the field by the referee. Here's where we get into one of our differences, right, between NFHS and USSF. When you beckon B12 on, they can come on the field. Then B17 is no longer that player, right? So the minute you look over and acknowledge the subs, and if the way you work the match is you kind of wave them on, in my opinion, you just beckon those subs on. Now if B17 turns around and calls you a blankety blank, they were already off the field, even though they're not technically off the field. You've already beckoned the other player on. So a word of advice, if you have a very contentious game, and I might be speaking from personal experience on this, be smart with your on and off and your beckon. I had a player that I knew was going to lose their marbles, and I was trying to get them to cool down, so I tried to let them have a moment and bring the other player on a little slower, and they still lost their marbles. So just be smart about that as part of your game management, right? If you want to get them off there in a hurry, get them on, right? It's up to you on that beckon. You're beckoning them onto the field. This one, I don't ever understand how this happens, but I'm sure it does. It's on the test. Player A10 who is not on the roster scores a goal. The referee should. We're going to add them to the roster and allow the goal. That's one of our funky little quirks here, right, with NFHS, is they can add their players to the roster. So I suppose if your super athlete from your school shows up as in the stands as a fan, you can add him and bring him in. But, right, we add him, we allow the goal. This one is an important one. We probably will run into this. We seem to every year, right? Due to inclement weather, both coaches agree to shorten the periods of the game. This may be done. You have a couple choices. This one is also a test question. George Lee in the room threw out D. Someone online just threw out D. Yes. So if we think we might have a weather situation, we have to agree to it before the game begins or before the beginning of the second half. We can't get partway into that second half and realize, ooh, we're going to have a problem. And maybe that weather problem is darkness because some clouds rolled in, right? We need to make those decisions before kickoff or at halftime. Right? I would encourage you, make sure your school administrator that's on site gets involved as well. Don't let that just be a you decision. That should be an administrative decision. Take that off your shoulders.
Chad, I got a question. But
Yep.
if we're halfway between or towards the end of a game or second period or first period or whatever, and lightning strikes, we call it the game, don't we?
Okay, so the question by someone online, Matt Reed, was how can we do that if we have a lightning situation occur during the game? Well, a lightning situation in high school, we're not canceling the game. We're going to have to get off the field and postpone and look at a weather delay and may come back to the game. And so again, Matt, we won't cancel the game. And in those situations, again, I would involve school administration because there's certain regulations that they need to meet. They may be able to count that game as a fulfilled game. So we're going to follow those guidelines, and there's usually always a school administrator on site. Larry, you were going where with the same part of this? So the question for those of you online that couldn't hear Larry said, if you're playing a normal first half, you may have a shortened second half. You may not have two equal halves. Correct. Because everyone just agreed to it at halftime that, man, these clouds just rolled in. We're going to get a storm. We're not going to get all 40 minutes in. We're going to agree to play 25. Done. Because everyone agreed to it at halftime. Matt, did we take care of your question?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
Jason Ware had a similar question, thought has had to be equal. Again, which is true in most normal circumstances. But again, if we have that agreement before the game or before half, that kind of trumps the equal halves rule.
And just kind of, again, that equal halves is something that's been into all of our heads as officials for a long time. High school is very much about the safety of the athlete. That's predominant behind some of these decisions that are made. So. Cautioned player A4 leaves the game and is not replaced. When can A4 re-enter the game? And so just think about that out loud, right? A4, you just cautioned him or her. They stepped off the field because they must in high school soccer. Coach chose not to send someone in for them. Coach can do that, right? When can A4 come back in? I have a couple B's that were thrown out, and that is correct. That cautioned player cannot enter or be replaced till the next legal substitution, and that one is a test question.
Chad, we had one from Andrew Robinson. Can we cover question 21? We'll come back to that. Andrew, we're going to go through our presentation. We'll come back to 21 at the end, if that's okay.
Yes. And Wilbin, you had sent me a text on that one, and I actually had a phone conversation with another official on this call about that. So remind me if we do miss it to pop back to 21, because otherwise most of you will probably get it wrong.
I have one thing on substitutions. Is there anything different on substitutions? Like, do they have to be in possession of the ball, or unlimited substitutions in high school? Or
so the question that was asked online, is it unlimited substitutions? Is it who's in possession of the ball? It's going to follow all of the stuff we've talked about, Matt, in our USSF classes. It is unlimited. They're same guidelines. If it's Reds throw, Red can sub. If it's Reds throw, Red can sub. If White is also there, we're going to take White as well. So nothing changes on any of that. Corner kicks, it is allowed if the attacking team is substituting. So if White is taking the corner kick and White wants to sub, we will take a substitution on those corner kicks. They also can substitute on the caution because that player must come out.
what about a non-injured player?
Question was about a non-injured player. So number 13 is running around tired and just wants to sub out.
Yeah, I think they were kind of changing the rules at one point that they were going to allow substitutions during, not in high school, but the other ones that they're, in any stoppage kind of.
Well, a player can leave the field at any time as long as they have your permission. So if you're giving if you're giving player 13 permission to step off the field because they look exhausted or something, you can do that. I guess I'm not quite seeing the picture you're painting for me here.
Well, I mean, a play stopped for an injury or whatever, and the other team wants to sub players in.
Okay, so his clarification now for those of you in the room that aren't online was, if play has stopped for an injury, can a non-injured player substitute at that time? And my answer is going to be yes. We have a stoppage. We're taking substitutes on, right? We're going to do that. Think about it even in basketball. You have a stoppage, we're going to take those subs.
Okay.
So if blue is injured and there's a white player that wants to sub at that time, we're going to absolutely do it. We have a stoppage. That's just a common sense substitution.
Okay.
Bench personnel running onto the field while the ball is in play is an example of, and this one is a test question. Yes, A was thrown out in our room here. That is definitely misconduct. They run out while they're in the, it is misconduct, and we should caution them. Shall caution them. Go ahead. This one is on the test. A throw in by player A goes directly to her own goalkeeper who catches the ball with her hands. The referee should B, we give an indirect free kick to the opponent, right? We cannot throw the on a throw in to our own goalkeeper. And that's what happened in this case here. So it's an indirect kick to the opponent from where they caught it. Rule change is the next one. Okay. This one we talked about earlier references the rule change, right? If the referee fails to signal the kick is indirect and the ball goes directly into the opponent's goal, the result shall be correct. A, we retake it. We must keep that arm in the air until it touches a player or until it goes out of play. So again, make sure you give that signal and maintain that signal.
And obviously be prepared. If you forget to raise your hand and it goes directly in, your attacking team coach is going to obviously want the goal. The defending team coach will closer not want the goal. So let's make sure we don't get ourselves in this position. Keep the hand up there the whole time. It seems kind of goofy sometimes that players don't sometimes know if it's direct or indirect, but we need to, and we make sure we keep that signal up there so we don't have this problem.
Indirect free kicks for offside are taken from, and this one is not on the test this year. C, the point of the infraction, right? That's where the offside occurred, not necessarily where it was passed or where the ball was when the referee stopped, but the point of the infraction. Should be one or two. Go ahead. Well, that's where you're raising it up, right? The rules allow you to, you can move to the spot if that's where you need to, right? Because so the question in the room for those of you online is it where the referee raised the flag and then gave the far, middle, or near? Yes, but no, because just where I raised it doesn't necessarily mean that's where the infraction happened, right? It may be 10 yards further down the field, or it might be 10 yards further back up the field. I think there's one more that was on here. Yeah, okay. A2 is advancing the ball towards the opponent's goal with an obvious goal scoring opportunity. B3, who is attempting to play the ball, fouls A2, who is outside the penalty area and does not score a goal. So just a couple clarifiers on here, right? A2, we're saying, has an obvious goal scoring opportunity. B3 attempted to play the ball but fouled them, and it's outside the penalty area, does not score. This is similar to what Coach was asking, but a little slightly different here. Anyone want to chime in on this one? So I had a C thrown out in the room, and I had a D pop up online. I'm going to throw it at Eddie and ask him why he's telling us C.
So A2 is advancing the ball towards the opponent's goal. First off, it was outside the penalty area, so you can't do a penalty kick.
Correct. We can't have a penalty kick because we're outside the penalty area. Correct.
The opponent was going for the ball.
The opponent was going for the ball. Okay.
It's going to be a direct kick because of the penalty.
Right. So we've got direct kick. That's either C or D. So really the only difference between C or D is the caution or the disqualify. Really the only difference between the two answers is the caution or the disqualify.
I think there was a goalkeeper as well behind the defender that was, you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. So Eddie is telling us, for those of you online, that there's a goalkeeper back there. Keep in mind our question says obvious goal scoring opportunity. And if we deny an obvious goal scoring opportunity, it should be what? Should be a disqualification. And someone's popping in online says ball did not go in, so we disqualify. So yes, right, that last 4 words there, Ed, does not score a goal. If this goes in the goal, we have a caution. If this does not go in, we denied an obvious goal scoring opportunity. This is probably where we as officials sometimes chicken out. This needs to be a disqualification. That player fouled them and stopped them from scoring.
Now let's slide this
Someone just said now inside the penalty area.
I was going there next. Now let's slide this thing 2 yards forward and we're inside the actual penalty area. And it's an obvious attempt to play the ball. It's not a push, pull, or a holding penalty. It's a tripping penalty where there's an attempt to play the ball. That changes things, right? Now, do we give the caution or do we give the send-off? And I'd be curious to hear what one of the coaches has to say about this, because this is a confusing time for everybody, especially when you're the coach of the team and you're like, well, wait a minute. Or it happens too. Put yourself on the other side of the house and it's your guy that committed the penalty, committed the foul. So we have a coach out there that can jump in. We have a attempt to play the ball, an obvious goal opportunity inside the penalty area. We got a B if it's inside the 18 from Jason Ware, which is award the penalty kick and caution. We got someone else that says foul inside or outside does not matter. Same card, which would be a red. So we have 2 different answers here. So let's discuss it. Do you have a coach that can jump in? Jeff Yarrow jumps in with B. Let's go with him as a coach. Coach Farrell says award team made a penalty kick and caution the player.
Amber Bryden is saying B also.
And other people are saying B as well. Amber Bryden here. She says B as well.
Jasmine B.
Jasmine B. Jason Ware, I believe he said B.
So let's answer this one out here, right? If we're in the penalty area, we know we've got a penalty kick. We're all on the same page with that. There's no changing that, right? Direct kick in there is a penalty kick. Boom. Okay. So now we have to make the decision whether this is a caution or a disqualify. The key in this is going to be B3 attempted to play the ball, right? So they made, and for those of you that can't see me, it's a soccer foul, right? They made a play. So in my mind, this is a trip, a kick at the ball where they whack the player and take them down, okay? We're giving the penalty kick, and the directive then is it's a yellow card, a caution, not the double whammy of the penalty kick and the disqualification. If this was a non-soccer foul, so in your brain, think of something that's not soccer related, grabbing them by the jersey and pulling them down, a push, something that's not an attempt to play the ball, which this clearly said an attempt to play the ball. Something that's not an attempt to play the ball, we're still giving the penalty kick because our direct kick foul occurred in the area. Now that player's gone because they did not make a soccer foul. They didn't make no attempt to play the ball. Okay, so that should clear it up. A soccer foul, an attempt to play, we're not going to double jeopardy them. So yellow and the penalty kick. Non-soccer foul is the red and the penalty kick. Again, obvious goal scoring opportunity is the big thing on this, right? That's saying this, if we're outside the area, which the question was, it's a dismissal. If we're in the area, we don't double jeopardy. Yes, we have a question in our room here.
What would happen after these direct fouls? They come back after each other.
Well, so now the question in the room was if after the direct free kick foul is given, the players come after each other, you've got some work to do, right? I mean, coming back at each other doesn't give me enough. Is someone pushing? Is it shoving? Can I get in the way and diffuse this situation? Are my ARs coming to help me diffuse this situation? You won't hopefully see much of it in high school because hopefully it's an extension of the classroom, but you have a whistle and you have a body to have some command presence. Get it all separated and then talk to your helpers, right? Talk to your assistant referees and get it figured out. I think it's Ryan Byer, our buyer.
We got a great question. How far outside the penalty area? And that is a age-old question that deserves discussion. If it happens at the D versus happens in the middle of the 10-yard center circle, 3 yards in the attacking side of the field. What makes it obvious goal scoring? And you got to put all that into your mixer, right? You got 4 Ds for obvious goal opportunity: direction, play, direction to the goal, the number of defenders, and the distance.
Distance to goal.
Distance to goal. So you gotta use your best judgment on that. If you got, the the kind of the slow defender and the rock star attacker, that might change versus the slow attacker and the rock star defender, if that makes sense. And it stinks, but there's not a right answer for that. You just have to make the decision. How far outside the penalty area is an obvious goal scoring opportunity for you? How do you have any more?
I'm just gonna piggyback that with one last thing. A lot of coaches and parents, well, hey, that's last defender. You know, it could be right by the half line. That's last defender. That has to be a send off. There is nothing that says anything about last defender, right? It's denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity. I get that striker might be a 4x100 state champion and might be fast as all blazes, but if they're right by the half line, just because the last defender fouled them doesn't mean it's a dog so, an obvious goal scoring opportunity. So going back to the question that was posed, how far outside? You have to take all those things into consideration. Where's the defenders? Distance to goal? How fast are these players? All that factors in. I wish I could give you a cookie cutter answer, but if it's denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity, we got to send them.
And I want to add one more thing, and some of my coaches will know this. They'll start smiling when I say this. Every one of your coaches, and of course I know Coach Farrell and Coach Sadowski will be best because they're here. I see them the most. But other coaches across the state, you've seen your players from the 6-yard line with one in front of them miss. So you got to throw that in the mix as well, right? It doesn't make it right. But if they've got to go 50 yards and they dribble the ball 50 yards and get that shot off, maybe they can, but maybe they can't. But that all goes in the mix when we talk about how far away from the penalty area. That's what you got to throw into there, and it stinks, but we've all seen it.
Okay.
Go ahead. This one I left in here. It's something we don't talk about enough, and hopefully we don't have to deal with it much in high school. But which of these is true about taunting? Yeah, taunting is misconduct, requires the offending player be disqualified. So just think about that in your really contentious games, crosstown rivalries, high-level playoff games, bad blood between the teams, right? I'm all for, I love this sport and I bleed this sport. I love the celebration after a goal because we all know there's not a lot of those goals scored in this sport. So celebrate with your fans, celebrate with your teammates. But once that crosses that line into a taunt, now we're talking about a disqualification versus just a caution. We had one a couple years ago. It was at the state high school tournament, and the player scored a goal and ran right into the opposing team's bench and taunted. In my opinion, that player should have been gone. We have to be aware of that as officials, right? Because we don't think about it. We're too busy looking and writing the score down. Be aware of your surroundings. Keep an eye of what smells and what's happening around you. You got to be watching for that. Let's not let that become a part of this game in high school, at least in our part of the country.
Bonus point for whichever person can name the referee that did that, allowed the other team to run to the opposite teams and didn't caution, because quite honestly, we lost it. I was at the game. Anybody know? Highest ranked referee in the state of South Dakota right now. He does MLS game, Jeremy Keesel. And that was one that we picked up after it happened. We were on the radio and we were talking, and no one picked up on it, but it does happen. So let's make sure we work to not allow that.
Since we're talking about taunting, before we move on, what are we doing with as far as the team when? Well, I guess we'll just start out there.
Go ahead. Yeah, we're both on speaker here.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. So when the whole team is making a countdown, whenever the opposing team has the ball, and then the whole team and bench personnel are counting down 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so the question that's in the room,
You see that a lot.
yeah, the question was in the room here for those of you online, and I know exactly what he's referencing. So there's a team when they're on defense, they start counting, kind of like in basketball. There's the 5-second rule. This team tries to get the other team to turn over the ball within, I believe it's 8 seconds is their goal or something like that. So they all start counting 1, 2, 3. I bounced this off several people, not just in our state. It's not targeted at a player, so they're not saying that it's taunting, nor is it misconduct. If they were, number seven, directing it at a player, we need to deal with that. But we've talked through that locally and statewide, and there's not an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, I know you talked about it last year and stuff, but every single time that happens, then we have another coach that always gets mad or there's always yelling at the referees to get it to stop. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah. And for those of you online, Eddie said he's just bringing that up so we're all on the same page in case you encounter that we have vetted that out and there's nothing wrong with that. So good point, Ed. Thank you. A2 in the penalty area is advancing the ball towards his opponent's goal with an obvious goal scoring opportunity. B3 grabs A2's shirt and A2 does not score a goal. The answer on this one is A. And I'll talk through it. This is exactly what we talked about a few moments ago. Here is a non-soccer foul. Grabbed the shirt, right? Didn't make a play on the ball, grabbed and wrapped this person up to prevent that goal. It's a penalty kick, and it's a disqualification. They're now playing a person down. Play has been stopped for a foul by A4. The referee stopped the clock, giving A4 a caution. As the referee is walking with the player towards the teammate bench to report the caution, A4 directs insulting language to the referee. A9, who is a substitute waiting to enter, has not been beckoned on. What do we do? So the correct answer on this one, we didn't beckon the substitute on. So it's a red card for our player number A4. And A9's not coming in. They're now playing with 10. Excuse me, I'm getting dry throat here. I would just make a suggestion here, and we talked about this last year in our coaches meeting out here, that we're supposed to let the benches know what the caution is for, we're supposed to walk over there and tell them. Sometimes that can incite some trouble. So it's okay to do it from 20 yards, right? And I had this exact situation happen to me. If I wasn't following the player, it probably wouldn't have incited a situation either. So sometimes distance is good. You know, help yourself out.
And obviously, coaches, especially those that are on here, we need your help in this. If your hothead guy or your player's just whatever shorter than normal and you're picking up on it, help us help you by getting them off the field, getting their ear as well. The last thing we want to do is send players. But I remember the guy talking about he was doing the right thing by walking over to notify the coach, but in his walking over, he was 3 yards from the kid the whole way, and the kid just kept chirping and chirping and chirping, and eventually got to the point we couldn't do the filth anymore. So we will do our best to not put ourselves in that position if you would help us out with your players as
well. Skip some of these. I want to go through the ones that are on the test, Tony. The rest of these that are on here are not on the test. We can spend time if we need to, but I know your time is also valuable. So I'm going to skip through and just go and read some of these online that we have not covered. The rest of these weren't on the test. So I'm just going to start on the top here and hit the ones that we haven't hit, which takes us down. It'll be, if you have your printed test, it's question number 9. A2 in an offside position receives a goal kick taken by B1. The referee shall, and your options are penalize for being offside, only call offside if goal scored, allow play to continue as is permitted, or none of the above. We're going to allow play to continue because, again, the question was A2 was in an offside, but B1 took the kick. So I'm in an offside position, but it was played by the opponent. I'm good. I'm good all day long. Question 11. On a throw in, the ball is in play. Your choices are when it leaves the hands of the thrower, when it touches the surface, when it leaves the hands of the thrower and breaks the plane of the touch line, or when it touches a second player. Your correct answer is when it leaves the hands of the thrower and breaks the plane of the touch line. It has to enter that imaginary line going up to the sky and come onto the field, so to speak.
So what happens if it doesn't come onto the field, doesn't break the plane?
The question online was, what if it does not come on the field? What if it doesn't break through that plane to come out there? You care to answer it?
No, that's why I asked it.
Okay, fair enough. So, right, the ball did not enter play.
Retake the throw.
We retake the throw. Right, the ball never entered play. Does anybody have anything different on that? Joe, you said retake it?
Yes.
Pretty sure it says go the other way, don't it?
No. We go the other direction. We're not playing U10 or U12 rec soccer. Right? This is unfortunate for that maybe JV player who hasn't had a lot of playing time, in the rec programs coming up. If they make an oops, we go the other way. It's no different than if they lift their foot. We go the other way. Right? Next one. Yeah, we'll get to 21 for sure. We definitely want to get to one at the end here because it was a tough one as well. I'm not going to go over that throw-in one. That's a pretty simple one. There was a couple on the test. So here's one at the at the opening kickoff. A1 enters B side of the field in order to kick the ball backward to A2. Illegal as they must be on their own half. Legal. Illegal as a re-kick should be taken, or illegal indirect kick. Right? The rules changed a year or so ago. It is legal on a kickoff to kick off backward. So that player can go into the other half to turn around and kick it backwards on a kickoff. We're fine with that. During an inspection of the field, this is question 18. The referees note that the team areas are not marked. What is the correct procedure? So your choices are notify the state association, not start until they're marked, or begin game without markings. Again, we still want to play, so we're going to notify the association and begin the game. Yeah, Sioux Park Field is a good example on the stadium there. We don't have a technical area marked. I'm getting to 21, Woobin. I see it popping up. Again, we play without the proper markings, but we notify the state association. And I promise you that John Krogstrand knows that Sioux Park football field doesn't have a technical area. Official signal for goal scored. That one's on the test. Remember, stop the clock and point to the center. Andrew Woobin, question number 21. At the taking of a corner kick, the defending players must be, and your choices are 10 yards from the ball, 10 yards from the corner flag, 10 yards from the quarter circle or the arc, or 10 yards from the ball unless they are marking an opponent who is not taking the kick. And I know you would love to answer this question for us, Woobin. You want to unmute him? Eddie threw out C, which is 10 yards from the arc. Did we lose everyone, Tony? Andrew, are you still on? He's not connected to audio. Okay. So Woobin, I believe, had C, 10 yards from the arc. The correct answer is 10 yards from the ball. I don't know that that's worded the best, right? Because we have the arc there, which allows the players to put the ball there. So technically, that hash mark is 11 yards from the corner, but 10 yards from the ball is the correct answer. Yes, and yes, Harold, that is the purpose of the 11-yard hash mark. But think about it this way. If I placed the ball on the touchline side of the arc, and I'm standing, the defender standing at that 11-yard hash, they're actually 11 yards from the ball, technically. So the correct answer ultimately for all of you taking the test is it's A, 10 yards from the ball. $22 is another throw-in one. Here's one kind of with the wall stuff. 24. B9 is tripped by A6. The referee stops play and awards a free kick to team B. A6 and other Team A players move slowly to form a defensive wall. Without waiting for the Team A players to be 10 yards from the ball, B5's kick strikes the arm of A8, whose arm is stationary and in a natural playing position. Do we continue? Do we stop, play, caution, make him leave, blah, blah? Do we stop, play, caution, and indirect, or caution? So I'm going to just jump to the chase with all the long answers. B chose to take a quick kick while A was trying to get set up. B chose to do it. It hit A, who was in A's arm, which is stationary and in a natural position. We're playing. Play's continuing. If you slowed it down and stopped it and did a ceremonial restart and you're making them back up, different story, right? Because the ball's not in play until you whistle and we restart. Referee notices player A has a broken knee brace. The player is improperly equipped. The referee should, and your choices are allow to fix immediately, allow the player to leave the field and allow a substitute, allow the player to leave the field without a replacement and re-enter at the next dead ball if official is satisfied the equipment's in order. Your correct answer is all the above. If they can fix it immediately, we're fine with that. If they need to leave the field, we take a substitute. If they leave the field and the coach doesn't want to replace them, that's on the coach. But then they're not coming back in until the next dead ball. I don't know that I've seen this one happen in South Dakota. Team with fewer than 11 players, but at least 7 players has an additional player, may have an additional player enter the game when. Next substitution opportunity for the late player, at the next dead ball, during the run of play, or only at the beginning of the next half. And Eddie, you are correct. It is the next dead ball. Right? They're already playing 4 bodies down. Yes, 26 is B.
Can you explain that re-entry? Is that different from, let's say, the FIFA rules of re-entering? You know, that AR says, you know, you're good to go, but high school they want the ball to be stopped at a stoppage.
Correct. They want it at a dead ball stoppage.
Okay.
That is a high school rule.
Okay, but at FIFA, necessarily, I'm just thinking like kids in FIFA. Or am I wrong?
You are correct. But today we're talking NFHS.
High school, they want the ball to be at. It could be an indirect kick. Could be an indirect kick. It could be anything. Correct.
Correct. An indirect kick is a dead ball.
Offside or whatever.
Yep, those are all dead ball stoppages. So
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. (28) During the course of play near the touchline, the official notes that player A is running outside the field of play and is playing the ball, which is inside the field of play. Do we award an indirect kick for a violation? The ball continues to be in play. The ref stops play and gives the ball back to team A for a throw-in, or the ref awards a throw-in to B. Our correct answer is the ball is going to be in play. That player can run off the field, right? He's going around somebody. He can run off the field. The ball is still in play. The ball doesn't leave the field. We have no issues with that. So our answer on that one is B. Questions on that one? (29) Referee has awarded Team B a free kick just outside its own penalty area. B3 takes the free kick and passes it back to the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper misplays the ball and has the ball carry him off his foot and into the goal. The proper restart is a corner kick, a kickoff, an indirect kick, or a direct kick. We don't have a corner kick, right? Because the defender turned and played it towards his keeper, who touched it, and it went in the goal. It's a kickoff. We have a goal. We have a goal. We can't, as officials, we can't correct a bad play. That was a bad play. That is B, Jason Ware, yes. Next one's kind of a long answer one. Which statement results in a goal? During a goal kick, goalkeeper takes the kick, the ball deflects off a player from the other team who was inside the penalty area, and the ball deflects into the goal. Or goalkeeper catches a shot on goal by team B, and preparing to throw it, the goalkeeper slips, drops the ball, which lands on the goal line between the goal posts before picking the ball up again. C, during a goal kick, the goalkeeper takes the kick, and the ball deflects off a player from his or her own team who was inside the penalty area, and the ball deflects into the goal. Or D, goalkeeper slips when taking a goal kick, mishits it, which lands entirely across the goal line and between the goal posts. That's a bad mishit. All right, the correct answer on that one is C. The first one, it hit the other team who's in the penalty area. That's not in play. They have to be outside of there until it's kicked. The second one, the ball never crossed the line, it says. The third one, they kicked it, hit their player who was in the penalty area on the goal kick, and went in. Shame for a bad play. That's a goal. .31, during an attack by Team A, A4 is laying injured on the ground in an offside position. A3 scores an apparent goal while A4 is in the offside position. You can disallow it and penalize A4. You can disallow the goal and award a goal kick, allow the goal but caution for unsporting, or allow the goal as A4 was not involved in active play. And in our question there on 31, it says A4 is laying on the ground injured. They're clearly not involved in active play, so we allow that goal. Yeah, 30 is C, 31 is D. 32. Player A2 deliberately plays the ball to player B9 who was in an offside position. I'm not even going to read through your choices. Again, A2 played it to B9. Oops, we can't fix a bad play. We allow that to continue. There is no infraction. So 32 is C. 33 is a similar question to the other kickoff one. It's going to be D. Yes, they can play it backward. Okay, I'll just help you. All right, 34, a little trickier here. A7 and A9 have both fallen to the ground in the vicinity of the ball. While they're on the ground, A9 attempts to kick the ball to A13. Is A9 guilty of dangerous play and B should get an indirect free kick? Is A9 guilty of dangerous play and the referee plays advantage? Is A9 guilty of kicking and give team B a direct free kick? Or A9 is not guilty of any offense, play should continue? I'm going to tell you this is tricky, and here's why. It doesn't tell me where B is in any relation to this question. So I have a problem with the wording on this question. The correct answer for your test is A. A9 is guilty of dangerous play. And remember, a dangerous play is an indirect free kick restart. Okay? For me, a dangerous play has to have some opponent involved causing this to be dangerous, and nowhere in the wording of that question do I have that. Well, and George just pointed out a good point. Technically, it doesn't have to be an opponent for it to be dangerous. There's nothing regarding opponent in the rule book, which is why that's the correct answer. But I have a hard time calling that and giving it to the other team when it's two teammates on the ground wiggling their legs at each other. It's my personal opinion. Letter of the law tells us it's an indirect free kick to B because, correct, there does not have to be an opponent there for it to be a dangerous play.
A little off subject here, just throwing out there with like our U12 games, U10, U12, we get that happening a lot. If there's, is it different for them versus NFHS? USSF versus NFHS.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you to put two different hats on. What's your level of play? When I'm teaching the class and we talk about the younger recreational games, those U12, U10, ultimate safety first. The minute I have a player on the ground, blow a whistle. Stop it. Let's get safe. Let's, prevent that dangerous play. At the high school level, if we blew a whistle when someone hit the ground for a slide tackle or sliding to make a save, I mean, the what constitute a dangerous play, I think it's a little different as the level of play increases. Is that a fair answer to your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if that sounded really good, I just bought what I was selling myself there. It was good. So
It was beautiful.
38, we talked about this at the start. This is one of those new changes with the ball deflating. 39. During a penalty kick, player A2 kicks the ball. Ball becomes deflated when it hits the crossbar. What's the appropriate restart? Retake the penalty kick. 40 talks about untucked jerseys. Again, we do nothing, right? They've changed the style of the cuts of the jerseys. They're not required to be tucked in. .42 is one of your drop ball questions. Player A1 is on the attack, kicks the ball, and it deflects off the referee to player B1. So clearly it changed possessions. What's the appropriate procedure? The official should stop play, conduct a drop ball with one player from team A at the position where it hit the official. So team A gets the ball back on the drop ball. So 42 is D.
About 41.
41, I did skip that and didn't mean to. I will come right back to it. If the ball touches a referee while standing in the penalty area and remains on the field of play, what is the appropriate restart? That one, we drop the ball to the defending goalkeeper. That's kind of a twist on that rule. So if it's in the penalty area and it hits the referee and stays on the field, it's a drop ball to the goalkeeper. And that is done. That is 41. The answer is D, David. And that's done to not give an advantage. Right? That's why they're giving it to the goalkeeper. .44, defending teams awarded a goal kick. Where may opposing players be for the restart? Remember, the opposing team must all be outside the penalty area until the ball is touched and moved. Right? So your answer is A. Outside the penalty area. That doesn't change. The only difference is when it's touched and moved, now they can come in. Right? They used to have to wait until the ball cleared. Not anymore. Once it's kicked and moved, game on. I don't think I've seen this one in South Dakota, but it's a test question, 45. Which of the following is true if opposing teams choose to be on opposite sides of the field? They have to be diagonally across from each other. They can't be directly across, diagonally across. 46, A10 is in an offside position. Excuse me again. After receiving a pass from B7, B9 accidentally passes the ball to A10. A10 should be nothing, right? You're offside when it's played by your teammate. When it's played by an opponent like this, again, we can't fix a bad play. So 46 is C. I might have. If we skipped over any, I'll come back to them. I'm trying to touch on some of the trickier ones because, again, I know people have given up their time, which I appreciate. And also to answer that, I cannot send you the answer key. I can certainly go over any questions you have with you. So offline when we're done, if you're taking your test and haven't, it gives you the option to print it because it's open book. If you want to print it and go through it and have any that you have questions on, I'm an email or a text away. I'd be happy to help and we can talk through it. I know this isn't the best format that we're using, but it works for us. So where were we? 47. A3 receives the ball directly from a corner kick. I'm sorry, Jason, what's that say? Feel free to accidentally put the answer key on the screen. Sorry, in 47, A3 receives the ball directly from a corner kick taken by A5 while A3 is standing in an offside position. A3 should be, I'm not going to go through them all, but we're going to continue play. A corner kick is one of those situations there's no offside at the taking of a corner kick. The ball is already all the way down as far as it can go down the field, so you're either even or behind it at the taking of that corner kick. Okay. That was 47C. 48, as A1 passes the ball forward, B1 plays the ball and deliberately but deflects it. Let me retry that again. So right on the lines of the bifocals here. As A1 passes the ball forward, B1 plays the ball deliberately, but deflects it to A2, who's in an offside position. Okay? So A1's trying to pass to B2. The defender, B1, plays the ball deliberately. Okay? So A2 is not offside. This is that change a couple years ago in that offside wording, where if it's deliberately played, it kind of washes out that offside for that attacker. I know someone's going to chime in. Hopefully I'll beat them to the answer. Challenge yourself with what's deliberately played. Take the U12 game out of your mind where that's a scuff and it's inadvertent. This is high school, and think varsity versus junior varsity. At the varsity level, most of your defenders probably made a deliberate play on that ball and played it poorly. At the JV level, that 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old defender may still not have played it deliberately, and it might be a misplay. If it's deliberate, it's going to wash it away. If it's a misplay or a scuff, a skip, a deflection, right? Some different vernacular there to think about. So deliberately played, washed it away. 48, your answer is C.
Hey, one thing, one of our Zooms this summer, they talked about with one of the referees, it might have been Alan Chapman, which one it was. He talked about the defenders, especially his foot or his leg, swinging towards the ball or like moving backwards to receive the ball. And that'll tell you a lot if there's deliberate or not, because obviously if the ball's kicked hard, as they put a leg up or something up, they're going to kind of swing it backwards to try to just as a reactionary thing. But if it's moving forward to like strike it, that's where you tell where deliberateness is.
.49, and this one we probably encountered here in South Dakota for sure. Defending team kicks the ball across the goal line near the corner flag. So we're giving a corner kick. The corner area on that side of the field is very muddy. Where can they take that corner kick from? The correct answer is the kick must be taken from the correct corner regardless of the muddy conditions. Your other options were abandon the match, switch to the other side, right? We must take it from that side. The last question on here, question 50. On a corner kick, two players from Team A line up to take the corner kick. Player A1 runs over the ball, touching it with his foot. Your choices are player A2 is legally permitted to play it. Play continues. Player A1 may play the ball again, or the corner kick is retaken. And this is another one for me that I don't think was written very well. Shout out to Guy McNeely, who did a little extra digging in for some research on this one. So the correct answer for your test is player A2 is legally permitted to play the ball. The question says they'd run over the ball and touched it with his foot. Some of the descriptors when you dig in, and it's in Rule 17-1 if you want to reference it, you can go to Section 5 or Section 3, but it says the ball is played when it is kicked and moved. So touching the ball with the foot doesn't necessarily put it into play because maybe it moved or maybe it didn't move, and that's not very well written in that part of the question. So if you got it wrong and said, hey, retake it, I understand why. Your correct answer is A, but you can go through here. Had they worded it better, you could have put player A1 runs over the ball, touching it, and the ball moves. That's not in here. Okay, so just as any of your other kicks, kicked and moved, touched and moved, whatever verbiage you want to put there, your correct answer here is A for this, okay? I'm going to shut my mouth for a minute and just open it wide open to any comments, any questions. I know I didn't hit all 50 of them as I went through. I hit most of them. If there's a specific question you have, if there's a topic we want to dig into, we're all here. We have some resources. Tony, mute me and I'll shut up and I'll open it up here.
Okay, I'm looking for any comments. Looking for any hands being raised. Not seeing any. Guy McNeely, hang on. Guy McNeely, you're unmuted, Guy. Go ahead.
So I would like everybody to take a very close look at question number 12. And we talked about this a little bit, but it's the throw-in question where the ball is in play when it leaves the hands and breaks the field of play, and the foot comes up after the ball is in play. And the correct answer, play continues. As a NYSOA regional assessor, a regional U.S. soccer assessor, a high school observer, it drives me nuts every year to watch referees call 20 foul throw-ins a game because somebody's foot comes up after the ball's thrown. Please stop doing that. It's not an infraction. There was a NYSOA Zoom video I was on last week where they were talking about the different levels of violent conduct. And right in front of an assistant referee watching a player's feet, another player grabbed a girl by the ponytail and threw her to the ground, and the foul was not called because the referee was looking at the throw-in. What is an area on the field where a foul is going to occur, and what is an area of field where you are wasting your time? You are wasting your time fiddling around looking at players' feet on throw-ins. That's my soapbox for today.
Okay, thanks, Guy. We've got a couple questions in. Katie sent in penalty for a coach entering the field to argue. What is a penalty? I'm assuming you're saying, Katie, what is a penalty?
Actually, a question on the test.
Number 36.
36.
36.
36 says during active play, Team B's coach enters the playing field to argue a call with the official, but does not interfere with active play. All right, you have me muted.
Yeah,
We're fixing our issues here. One moment.
There you go.
Okay. Question 36, I think Katie answers what your question was. During active play, Team B's coach enters the playing field to argue a call with the official, but does not interfere with active play. So they came on the field to argue, didn't interfere. We give Team A an indirect kick from where the ball was when the referee stopped play. That's the penalty for it if it happens. Here's the bigger issue at hand is the referee crew probably doesn't see it happen, because if we're doing our job, we're watching players that are involved. So unless it's right in front of the AR, or unless in this example, they're coming way, way out there. But yes, 36D is your correct answer, Katie. And I saw someone just popped in with 17. It looks like the same question. During active play, Team B's coach enters the playing field to argue a call with the official and interferes with the active play. There's our difference. 36, they didn't interfere. 17, they did. Because they interfered. 17 is a direct kick. I think you're unmuted again.
Okay, Chad.
17A, 36D.
Okay, same with indirect free kick. This is from Lisa Johnson. Often another player taps the ball and then it's kicked. And so I'll take this because Chad is losing his voice. The ball has to be kicked and moved. So stepping on the ball, compressing it, and not moving is not a kick. It has to be kicked and moved. Now the kicking can be slight, but it must be kicked and moved.
And she said touched. If it moves,
correct.
We're okay with that.
Yes, touched. It's got to move.
Move. You determine move.
So move.
It used to say a full circumference. Now it's just moved.
Correct.
Yes, on an indirect kick, yes.
They come over to touch over the top, barely touch it. If it's kicked and moves. You can see it move, I guess it's moved.
You have to determine if the question for those of you online is Larry said if they come over the top and just touch the top, can they play with after that? If it moved, yes. You've got to determine if it moved or not. Phil has an AR question I saw come in, but someone also said question 23. I missed that, and I apologize. Referee has given Team B a penalty kick. As B4 runs towards the ball to take the kick, B9, B7, and A5 enter the penalty area. The referee allows the kick to proceed. So we got a penalty kick. We have both teams encroaching. Whether it goes in, misses, we retake that kick because both teams encroach. So 23, your answer is C. Because both teams encroached, we retake the kick.
Phil B asked, will you please review how the ARs are to monitor offside violations? That is it proper to watch the defender second to last, and listen for the ball to be passed to him or her? And I would tell you the answer is yes. You should always be looking second to last defender, keeping in mind it's not always a defender. Sometimes it's through the goalkeeper, but typically it's the last defender.
And I'm going to jump in on this one. So Phil is new to our officiating circle. Welcome, please, and stay with us. Yes, your position, and we didn't get to have a class this spring, Phil. Position will be with second to last defender. That's where your eyeballs are going to be, and as you gain experience, your right eye is going to stay with those defenders. Your left eye is going to be peeking towards the attackers, and your ear is going to be listening for when it's played. And sometimes if you take an extra step or two back from the touchline, it opens up your field of vision. And Bill, I know you're local out here. I'd be happy to spend some time working with you on that when we get a chance, because that'll definitely improve your game tremendously.
Actually, I'm asking it more as a coach this year.
Okay.
Because we had several offsides called on us last year, and I remember specifically getting a yellow card for for getting irate about it, because
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because basically I was lining myself up, and I could see that the AR was not doing that. Was not. I mean, we're watching the ball was kicked, and then by the time they looked, when we've taught our players, of course, to wait till the ball's kicked,
yes.
And it doesn't always happen that way, of course. But in these particular instances, they were doing a really good job of timing their runs, yet they were being consistently and repeatedly penalized for them. So I just wanted to review that for everybody's sake.
And I'll jump in because I was on that game and I know exactly what we're referring to. In a perfect world, that AR's primary responsibility is to stay with that second to last defender to get that. Unfortunately, we aren't always there, and we trail and we miss things, and we can always talk offline more about that one too. But their primary duty should be maintaining that balance of second to last defender and when that ball is played, because that's when it happens at that impact. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and we should discuss that more offline one day.
Okay.
We got another one here about Jason. The messy penalty kick seems to be popular. Should we discuss it?
Okay, so the messy penalty kick, what he's referring to is, and it actually happened way, way back much earlier in life when I was a child, is where I first saw it, but that's neither here nor there. Lionel Messi comes up to take the penalty kick, and instead of shooting it on goal, he plays it slightly forward at an angle, and Luis Suarez comes running in and buries it in the goal. So it's 100% legal because the ball was played forward. It was also 100% legal because Suarez stayed outside of the area until the ball was played. And so it was 100% fine. Yeah, we did have it happen. Yep, out here. As long as they don't encroach and they're not there before the ball's kicked, we're fine. Primary responsibilities, right? The AR should be watching the goal line. The referee should be positioned closer to the shooter there by the penalty mark spot, closer to watch those encroaching from the top. So as long as he's outside before it's played, it's fine. If you think he encroached or did encroach, you can by all means call that. If you're unsure, talk with your ARs about it so we get it right. Monty, you had a question you wanted to go back to.
Earlier, yeah, just about where the coach that comes on the field, whether he interferes or doesn't.
Okay.
He's coming on to argue. I mean, don't we think it's appropriate at that point? He's coming on the field. If that's the question to say anything about, showing some yellow or something like that.
So for those of you online that can't hear, Monty's question was, hey, we just talked about the two where the coach comes on the field and one interferes with play, which is direct restart. Two doesn't interfere, which is indirect restart. Shouldn't we be dealing with something with that coach? And my answer 1000% is yes. There needs to be some sort of a discussion with that coach, whether it's verbal, whether it's your caution or your dismissal. Absolutely, 1000% yes. We don't need that in our game. And the coach's I think our high school coaches, for the most part, do a outstanding job with that, and so kudos to them as well. But yes, if they're coming on the field to argue, we need to deal with that. Tony, were there any others that popped in that we didn't hit?
There are no more questions. I did get a question about, is this being recorded? The answer is yes. It'll be on our South Dakota Soccer Referee YouTube page, and it'll also be probably up on our Facebook page. So if later on you missed some stuff, or watching the golf or whatever on TV, you need to hear everything you wanted to hear, we'll get this posted probably the next day or so you can go back and watch it. I have no more questions. Unless
I have a couple comments.
Someone has something. We've got a few comments from Chad, and then we'll wrap it up.
I have a question, if it's okay still. Actually, two of them, but can you caution any coach, assistant coach, or just a head coach?
Okay, so the question was, can you caution any coach or just an assistant coach? And I will ask you, what do you think about that? Who do you think you can or should caution?
Well, I don't know. I didn't know if it was just the head coach that you could caution, or any coach or anybody on the player side.
Great question.
Anybody on the roster?
Ultimately, anybody on the roster you can caution or dismiss.
Okay. And then my next one was, we touched up with the indirect kick. If you don't raise your hand, you have to retake it. What if it's a direct kick and you accidentally raise your hand and the ball?
Okay. So his question, for those of you that aren't online, if it was a direct, if it's indirect, we know we have to raise it until it's played. If it's a direct, we're whistling, we're pointing. What if it's a direct and you give the indirect signal?
Yeah.
Well, if it goes in, you got a mess.
Don't do
You
that.
need to think through that one. And don't do it.
It would be my belief that the goal would stand, personally. I tell you what, that's going to
Here's how I'm going to support that goal stands. It's a direct kick foul.
Yes.
We awarded a direct kick.
Correct.
It's not the indirect that we didn't let everybody know it was an indirect. We just gave the wrong signal. So I would fight that. With yourself, we got bad feedback again.
Yeah, I'd like to argue the other side on that there, Chad, though, because if the goalkeeper sees your arm in the air, I've seen plenty of goalkeepers step out of the way of shots coming into the goal because they know it's indirect, and if they deflect it, it could be a goal.
Yeah, and Ed's asking the same question at the same time, Jake. So for everybody involved, if the goalkeeper, and you were a goalkeeper and I was a goal, if I see that that's indirect, I may just let it go right in. And now we have a bigger mess. So, Matt, great question. You got us all thinking. I think the right thing to do would be retake it. Guy, are you still on in your infinite words of wisdom here that you have a different opinion? Guy's no longer on. Here's what I will do for those of you still on. I will research that, and I will drop it on our website, SouthDakotaSoccerReferees.com. I will find us out an answer to that. Let's just not let it happen. Here's my couple comments. I know a couple people, I've seen some messages that they're having to bounce out. For the coaches and administrators that joined us today, my hats are off to you. Thank you. You do a thankless job. We do a thankless job. We're getting much better on doing all this together. And I appreciate that you took time out of your day to jump in on this. I know you have to take the test every year. And if we can learn something from each other and with each other, we all get better at this. So thank you to the coaches and officials. If you didn't print out the entire test, I'm going to upload the test to our website. I have a section on there for newsletters and memos. I'll put it there. I will not have the answers there, but the test is there. Again, you can print it out yourself too, but it'll be there if you want to view it. I don't know how many times you can view it on the SDHSAA website. I will also be uploading a comparison chart. There's a comparison chart that has the differences between high school, college, and USSF rules. And I think it's super important because we all coach and officiate and it all interlaps. And sometimes we make some oopses. So I'll get that document uploaded as well. Again, at SouthDakotaSoccerReferees.com. Tony already mentioned, we did record it. I'm hoping it turns out okay. Give me a day or so. I will have the recording on there as well as on our YouTube channel. And for those of you that aren't officials, again, check out our website and that type of stuff. We try to keep some updated information on there just to keep everybody in the loop. I apologize that between our real jobs, we ran out of time and didn't get all the questions uploaded in the PowerPoint format, which is a little nicer. But we wanted to get the meeting done knowing that games kick off and our season starts this week. So thank you for attending. If anybody else has any questions, fire them out. We'll keep this open for a couple more minutes. Otherwise, my email, all one big word, rapidcitysoccerrefs@gmail.com. I'm happy to help out and answer anything there. I'm excited, even in our uncertainty with the COVID, to get back out on the pitch. I miss it. I want to be out there officiating these games, maybe getting yelled at a little bit by the coaches, but see my friends across the state that I haven't got to see for a while too. So thank you, everyone. Again, we'll keep it open for a couple more minutes if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out for a couple hours and enjoy your week.